I got to presume that the president and CEO of Job Creators Network is also working from home. He joins us on Skype, of course, Alfredo Ortiz. He was vice president of CSM Bakery Products Food Service Division. He knows jobs. It's in his DNA. Alfredo, it's great having you with us on the Mike Gallagher Show. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Mike, it's been a while and it's great to see you. I wish the conditions were better. I was thinking back to when we were back in Orlando kicking off the Bring Small Businesses Back tour. Now it's about keeping small businesses alive in this country, unfortunately, because of this virus. But you and I are knocking it out, trying to make it work for everybody. And I appreciate you keeping your show alive from your kitchen. And like everybody else, people are doing it from their bunkers, from their attics, from their basements, from their kitchens.
Sure.
Everybody's trying to make it work, right?
And I'm grateful for Job Creators Network because the backbone, the whole lifeblood of our economy, of our country, small, medium businesses, mom and pops on every corner. We have 30.2 million small businesses in America. That's considered 500 employees or less.
Right.
Listen, we got good news. The Treasury Secretary announcing earlier today that small business owners could get instructions on how to file for federal aid as early as today. These loans, he said, will be available starting on Monday. They hope to release the documents and the instructions. But let's not forget, Alfredo, that a key piece of the $2.2 trillion relief bill passed by Congress is $350 billion in funding for small businesses. That's going to be a real godsend and a lifeline for many small businesses, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. $350 billion, and they call them loans. I keep telling people, let's just call them what they are. They're grants because they're forgivable loans, right? That's important because first and foremost, we've got a messaging kind of urgency here is that it is a grant for all intent and purposes. If you can do the following, and I'm just going to read this, Mike, because I want to make sure I get it right. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program, which will provide 8 weeks of cash flow assistance through 100% federally guaranteed loans, which means that they're backed by the Treasury, no collateral needed, no personal guarantees needed, which is super important. Mike, you and I are both small business owners. We understand this. Who maintain their payroll during this emergency. If the employer maintains its payroll, then the portion of the loan used for covering payroll costs, interest on mortgage obligations, rent, and utilities will be forgiven. This is critical that small business owners, everybody out there, listen to this. Again, 30 million small business owners employing 60 million people. This is used for you. It is going to be out there for you so you can keep your employees on what I call standby, Mike, right? And the best way to think about that, everybody has a computer or a laptop at this point. You can either choose to power down completely or put it on standby. We all know if you power down completely, it's going to take a lot longer to start up, right? This way, if you keep it on standby, you keep your employees at least on standby and keep them on payroll. When this economy shoots back up, and it will, Mike, it will shoot back up, right? Because all the pent up demand, you're going to have your employees ready to go. And that's the idea. This is a huge program. I'm working with folks in the White House directly, trying to make sure we're getting real life input from small business owners. And I'm not talking to the big guys. I'm talking, maybe that local franchisee that owns the Jersey sub shop down the street or something like that. Getting that input into this loan program to make sure that it's as easy as possible, and that, quite frankly, Mike, that cash gets into the bank accounts effectively overnight because cash is keen with these small business owners.
I was sharing earlier that a lot of restaurants near where I live here in Florida have makeshift banners and signs up saying dining room, of course, closed, but we're delivering. You take out.
Yep.
I know that's happening in New York as
Everywhere.
well, and I mean it's happening
Everywhere.
all over the country.
Right.
I just saw a real inspiring column called "Food of Love." Steve Quozo over at the New York Post saying New Yorkers' passion for dining out will ensure that restaurant life will thrive anew. Now, they may not be the same restaurants because let's face it, Alfredo, some of these businesses are not going to be able to sustain, being on hold for long. But here's what he writes. He said, for sure, they may not be the same restaurants. The pandemic might, until nature sheathes its sword, pull the table from under the dining world we know and love and scatter to the winds. However, The truth is, by the time the virus is contained, and here's his spirit of optimism that I think I can share with everybody who has a small business or a restaurant around the country. By the time it's contained, pent-up demand for the elemental need to eat and socialize, and for the human impulse to provide the experience, might well lead to the greatest restaurant creation boom that we've ever seen. Tastes and trends might change, but the irrepressible entrepreneurial energy and the sheer joy people take in feeding others guarantee a resurgence. I think that's about right, Alfredo, don't you?
Mike, that is just beautiful. I was actually going to say that because look, I mean, first of all, things will get better. We know that, right? I mean, things will get better. We're hope, hope is on the way. Cash is on the way, first of all, with these loans, but hope is on the way. And when you see some of already the testing protocols that have just been approved, for example, last night, I think at midnight, Abbott was approved for a 20-minute, I think actually it's down to 5 minute for a positive, a 15-minute for a negative check. You've got some FDA approvals on other treatments, for example, that looks like they're working across the globe. So that's exciting, right? All that is going to be cutting and flattening that curve and bringing this resolution so much faster, I think, than ever it was expected. But to your point, Mike, the to me, why I feel optimistic, it's going to get ugly. Look, there's just no way to prevent it, right? The next 30 to 45 days, batten down the hatches, hold your breath, right? It's not going to be pretty, but we are going to get through it, and it's because of American ingenuity. What you just absolutely said, right? The innovation, that American entrepreneurialism, pop-up drive-throughs, literally hours after that was announced as the only way of revenue, right? Just the ingenuity, and you're right. Some small businesses aren't going to make it, but you know what? Those entrepreneurs are going to figure out a different way, and maybe they find a different
Right.
business that pops out post this COVID-19 crisis, where they can apply their resources and their smarts doing something. I'm seeing people all of a sudden produce masks, for example, that have never been in business doing that. Maybe they
My
just found
pillow.
themselves a
My
whole new business, right?
That's
But it's
right. That's
American
right.
ingenuity and innovation, Mike, and entrepreneurialism. That small business owner out there across Main Street, across every single state, across every single county in this country, that's what's going to get us out of this.
Alfredo Ortiz is with us, the president and CEO of Job Creators Network. And one of the things that we're into right now with our ongoing partnership with you guys is to remind everybody, if you own a small business or you work for one, Job Creators Network remains your advocate. And we're inviting people to share their stories with you and urging you to go to jobcreatorsnetwork.com,
Yep.
jobcreatorsnetwork.com. Alfredo, flesh that out for us. How is Job Creators Network? What do they do with that information that they're getting from small business owners all over the country?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, first of all, we appreciate it, right? Because we don't have all the answers. I'll tell you right now, from the government on down, from the highest levels, everybody's ears are open, right? They're looking for input. Never, never have we ever seen anything like this, right? To the extent and scope, right? So really, it's all hands on deck. I also have to say, I love seeing how entrepreneurs across the country and just businesses like Mike Lindell, you just mentioned, just before I was on, how they're converting his business to create masks. People are just
Right.
jumping in, right? A lot of businesses across the country are just jumping in to figure out how to help. They're not asking, they're not waiting, they're just doing it. And again, so we're getting ideas from small business owners across the country on jobcreatorsnetwork.com. We're taking them, we're filtering them out, we're trying to categorize them. We've got contacts at DOL, at Homeland Security, at Health and Human Services, in the White House, all across the board. And we're trying to call these ideas out and really try to flesh out and literally push up all of these ideas so that the people at the very top, I mean, I myself have had direct conversations with Secretary Mnuchin, and I have to tell you, he's taking the time, despite the crisis all around him, he's taking the time to get direct input from the front line to hear what is going on, what can we be doing better, what can we be doing faster. And again, so what we're trying to do is basically serve as that clearinghouse, but we're also getting information from all these departments, and as we're getting it, we've converted our website basically into a resource bank at this point. So, we ask people to please sign up, give us your contact information. We're going to try to get you real life updates as quickly as possible. And again, but we're also looking for the input back, because there have been some great ideas out there that are coming from everyday people that, you sit there and you go, oh, of course, right? Growing up,
Right.
up towards, to the folks in DC. And again, we're trying to get as many ideas circulated. I'm probably, just like you, Mike, none of us are getting much sleep right now, 2, 3 hours sleep a night at most, but all hands on deck, and we're all doing everything we can to make sure we get the information out. to your listeners, to our members, and just to people all across the country that are nervous, they're worried, they're apprehensive, but they got to know that folks like you, folks like our organization, and others around the country, we're doing what we can to make sure that help is on the way.
I'm grateful for you being in the front lines, and we're grateful to be in the trenches with you. JobCreatorsNetwork.com. They're there for you. Thanks, Alfredo. Keep fighting the good fight. Great having you
Yeah,
on the
you
show.
too, and be careful and be safe out there, Mike.
You bet. You too. JobCreatorsNetwork.com are great partners here on Team Gallagher. Stick around. More coming up.